2021 was just a crazy year for storage. I think rental rates went up nationwide 24 to 26% in 1 year, which is obviously not sustainable, and could correct and all of that. But I mean, even if you just follow inflation at 8%, that's still a really healthy rate climb every year. And if institutional buyers are buying it and they're borrowing it 2% or less, they're just happy with the spread. Correct. So they can pay whatever they need to pay because they're just excited about the spread they're going to make.
Welcome to the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate Show. Whether you are an active or passive investor, we'll teach you how to scale your real estate investing business into something big.
Erik Hemingway is a great friend of mine based in Wilmington, North Carolina. This will be a little bit different show today. I think it's going to be a lot of fun because I've known Erik, 5 going on 6 years at this point, Erik.
Yes, sir.
And I got to hear your story when you guys, and we probably won't get into that too much today, but your story of how you'd use real estate to then fund your guys' kind of family experience as you guys traveled the world. It was an absolutely compelling story that you told when I met you in 2017. And since then, you guys have come back here to the States. You've been kicking butt, taking names in all sorts of different real estate asset classes, and have just certainly enjoyed our friendship and then just watching you guys grow here in the real estate world. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. For our guests that don't know you or haven't met you before, Erik, there's 3 questions I ask every guest who comes on the show. In 90 seconds or less, can you tell me, where did you start, where are you now, and how did you get there?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, great to see you, Sam, and thanks for having me on. So got into real estate way back when, I guess 25 years ago, 26 years, something like that. My wife and I got married young. We had 2 young kids, and real estate I pushed a broom, dug ditches, all that, worked my way up. I've been on my own since 2001. So 21 years or so as a general contractor, spec homes, got into commercial real estate in 2005, built my first self-storage in Arizona. So that's where we were. Where I am is my son and I started a company called Nomad Capital, where we are syndicating self-storage projects, specifically big box conversions. We like conversions of, big box stores, grocery stores, abandoned buildings. And there's plenty of those in the Southeast. Started in Arizona, but we wound up in Wilmington, North Carolina, as you said. And where we're going is just having a ball. It's a new chapter, but still ties into the real estate, and we're really excited to see where it's going. So we've got some lofty goals, but we're building the team and ready to tackle it. So,
and you've left some of the asset classes. I think one of the things that I've always admired about you is that, yes, you have had a focus on storage, but yet you've also been opportunistic in its own right. Like, I've watched you buy some unique hotel properties, some short-term rental stuff, some heavier lift projects like that somehow you just saw the value in those. Can you talk about those for a minute?
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. So that's what I love. That's my favorite part of this business, is kind of seeing the diamond in the rough and kind of look past what other people pass on. And to me, as soon as I walk on a property, it just seems to look like renovated or converted or whatever. And really love that aspect of it. As far as the asset classes, my son and I joke probably every week about it. It's like we just do the next thing, and this opens a door to the next thing, and that opens a door to the next thing. So we just feel like, the movie Yes Man, where you just kind of say yes and let's see where it goes. And, obviously, there's some missteps, but I think just plowing forward is the way to go. So we've just been super blessed to find some great opportunities and continue to find them. And so there you go.
What are you doing right now to find opportunity? I know you talked a little bit about the self-storage, doing kind of abandoned building, if you will, conversion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What sparked the idea, and then how did you know you were onto something?
So our first one back in Wilmington was my wife and I were having a beer at a brewery, and there was my son and I had been doing renovations here when we got from our boat adventure, which we can talk about later or whatever, but relocated to Wilmington, and my son and I were doing renovations in old, gross, rotted houses and just killing ourselves. And we thought, by now the storage in Arizona was kicking off some great cash flow, and we thought, let's get back into storage. So my wife and I are at a brewery having a beer, sitting outside at the picnic tables, and there's a building across the street. It used to be a printing company, and it's all brick, no windows, and it's got a loading dock. And I'm like, that would be perfect for storage. We had just talked about getting into storage, and I called the broker the next day, and the building had been for sale or been empty for 8 years, for sale for 4 years. Nobody wanted it. And when we first met the broker, he showed up with 2 estimates to demolish the building. He's like, I know you're going to want to tear it down. Here's 2 proposals, 120 grand, 90 grand to demolish this thing. And my broker, this was the selling broker, my broker and I looked at each other like, we're not telling you anything. Like, this is perfect. So that was our first foray into conversion, because we just bought it for way below replacement and gutted it, repainted the interior, put storage in there, and we were off to the races. So they haven't all been conversions, but that's certainly a niche that we really like. And I'd say that makes up probably 80% of the projects we're looking at right now.
How do you underwrite, or how do you even project, like, hey, we're going to look at this vacant, abandoned building nobody has wanted for the last 4 years, but we're going to turn it into storage and it's going to pencil?
So it's pretty much the same as you would evaluate, conventional ground up storage. If you're going to develop a site somewhere, right? You did a feasibility study done. And what we like about the conversions is they're typically on great locations. I mean, like a Kmart, they were put there for a reason, right? Great visibility, great traffic counts. So a lot of that stuff is already checks the boxes. And then we just start doing our due diligence. We've got an underwriter on our team. He's fantastic, graduated from UNCW. Shout out to Drake Massa. But he does, spreadsheets, and he dives in and gets forensic with what's the rents we can charge? How long is it going to take to lease up? We're on Radius Plus and Yardi, Matrix, and CoStar, seeing what storage is around. Is the market undersupplied, oversupplied? Just typical kind of underwriting stuff. And if it starts checking all those boxes, then we're excited to go. As you know, the past couple of years in self-storage has been just on fire. And every email I get from brokers is call for offers. And there's 20 bids and it's over asking and all this stuff. And what we like about the conversions is it's pretty stealthy. It's kind of under the radar. And then all of a sudden there's a building in the middle of town that all of a sudden becomes storage. And there you go. So we didn't have to get in the dogfight with everybody else. And we also get to bring the heavy value add aspect, is we are general contractors, commercial unlimited license. So it's in our wheelhouse to do the build out. We're not relying on a GC, and we know all the issues with supply chain and inflation and blah, blah, blah. I mean, we're feeling all those pains, but certainly would have been a lot worse had we had to hire that out.
Well, for sure.
So that's kind of our secret sauce is we can spot them, we can underwrite them, and then we have the GC part to build them out. Right.
No, that's an awesome combination there. What is the typical from buy to break even occupancy? Like what's that timeline do you look at across?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we look, this year has been frustrating because projects have taken longer than we projected, which is frustrating for us. And, but so we're underwriting basically when we close on the property, figure renting units 10 to 12 months from that date. And then depending on the market, lease up, and we're probably covering the nut about 12 to 18 months after that. So from closing on the deal to in the black, let's call it 30 months.
30 months. How does a lender look at that? Or do you guys private finance this? Do you finance it yourself? What's that look like on these deals?
Yeah, we're going through local banks. We've got relationships with local banks, credit unions, that kind of thing. And we're financing 75 to 80% of the loan to cost because they know, typically all of our appraisals have shown, in some cases, we're buying the building under appraised value. So we're already walking in the door with a little bit of equity. As soon as we get the build out done, which is on us to do, there's a big jump in equity. And then, of course, as you lease up and stabilize it, that's the biggest. So you kind of get a little piece of equity along the way. And so banks like it. And that we've got a track record now. So it helped having built storage in Arizona 16 years ago. And now it's, we've got several conversions under our belt that we can say, look, we're doing it and we've done it, and here's where we're at.
Did it take a lot of lender shopping in order to find one that understood what it was you were trying to do?
No, I mean, there's certainly lenders out there that like storage, and we just basically show them our underwriting feasibility study, show them that we've done our homework and we're the group to be able to do it. And I mean, some, different lenders have buckets, right, that they get full, and hey, we're really putting a pause on storage development right now. If you want to buy an existing facility, we'll be happy to talk, but right. We've got too many ground up projects going, so we're probably going to cool off on that. And so we'll just pop over to another lender and say, hey, what's your appetite for storage development? And so, I mean, I hear stories of guys, calling 15, 20 lenders, and we've had nothing like that. Of course, there's brokers in this space, and we've used those guys in a couple of cases, and they can help weed out some of the, wasted time. They already know some of the players in the Southeast that are hungry for storage and get it. And I mean, the asset class has come a long ways in 15, 20 years, right? I mean, lenders didn't want to touch it 20 years ago because it was just weird and looked like, temporary buildings. Why are we loaning on this? And now it's, they love it. So it's survived 2 recessions, and we'll see if it survives this one. Right. Absolutely. When it comes, I know getting out of the dogfight with everybody else, for everybody, fighting over the same asset, you guys have found your own unique way to get in. What do you estimate your cost? I'm going to use the word savings, or maybe the price difference between what if you went out and bought something on market versus what you guys can convert a building and then put in storage for. It's a little tough. I see what you're asking there. It's a little tough to nail it down just because different markets are, there's storage that is typically sold for $100, $110 a square foot. Rentable space is typically how they price it. There's stuff that's sold for $180, dollars a square foot, depending on if you're downtown Charlotte or Raleigh or Atlanta or what have you. So typically our projects, we're buying the building under $20 a square foot, which you can't even replace for that, right? So we're into that. And then our conversion is crept up to close to 40. So we're about all in for about $60, $65 a square foot, including soft costs. So we figure we're still at 60%, 50% loan to value.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's strong.
So one of the things that we talk about a lot on this show is, and it's right in the name of it, which is scalability, the ability to go and wash, rinse, repeat. Is that possible in your model, or is it, hey, we're going to buy the building across the street from the brewery, and oh, by the way, there's a Kmart, and then building X? It seems like each of those would be its own unique project and not necessarily have repeatable steps in it. Or am I missing something? No,
it's surprising. Storage is pretty unsexy and pretty, non-glamorous. There's not a lot of moving parts to it. Right. So when we find these Kmarts, we just underwrite that we're going to have to replace the roof. We're going to gut the whole building. We're going to paint it inside and out, replace all the HVAC, all LED lighting, and then you put in storage units. So it's 8, 10 subs tops, right?
Right.
Subcontractors. And, so there is some metrics we can use there. Some of the dials turn a little bit depending on what we find, but it's surprising how much the projects are similar. It's like, well, we already know what it's going to take to do this. We already know what it's going to cost to do this. Like, let's plug it in. And we underwrite. Drake underwrites very conservatively. Let's say we think it's going to lease up in 18 months. Let's say 23 months. We think it's going to cost X to build this out. Let's give ourselves a contingency of 20% or 15% or whatever, just because we never want to do a capital call with investors. We never want to get behind the 8 ball. So we always write very conservatively. And if it pencils, then it's a go. So
what's it been like finding subs that understand, hey, we're building storage inside an existing building? I mean, that's a little bit different. It is. Yeah. I mean, we're still using Janus. They're the biggest in the world for storage. They do a lot of conversions. They've done our last 3 conversions, and they're a great contractor, great source.
We are using a project manager that's kind of tackling 3 different projects for us right now, and he's kind of bouncing around between them. He's been in the business a long time from North Carolina. He's got a great pile of resources of subs that he's worked with in the past, commercial guys, electricians, HVAC guys, and what have you. So
that's
did that answer the question?
It did. Yeah. Just, I mean, when you get in and it's like, okay, well, now we're going to have to figure out a way to put storage units inside of a Kmart. How does this work? I mean, you guys reworking entrances? Are you reworking, fronts? Are you,
yep.
What you call
in some cases, yeah. One Kmart we're doing a drive-through concept where there's a high-speed roll-up door on the front and back. People can actually drive through the building, park inside, unload their stuff. And the next one we're not doing that, but the first step is the architect, and we've got a great architect, not in-house, but that we've worked with, and he used to work for Janus, so he's very familiar with the storage industry, been in it for a long time, and he can really maximize the square footage. I mean, we use a rule of thumb, so if you've got a 50,000 square foot building, you can figure about 75% of that is going to be your net rentable by the time you take out hallways and entrances and what have you, office, whatever.
Right. And can you go, I guess in a Kmart, the ceilings aren't tall enough. There's no multi-level storage, or is it?
No, not typically. I mean, I guess if you tore the T-grid ceiling, the acoustic ceiling out, you probably could, but these buildings are already so big. I mean, one of them is 87,000, one is 102,000 square feet. So to bring in, basically with your 75%, you're talking about 150,000 square foot of storage. It's a lot, right? So that's more than the market can handle. So we're content with just going with the footprint that's there. Right. We're going to get 75,000 square feet in here, give or take. And then here's what we're expecting to get for rental rates. Again, that's another dial we can turn. We look at a competitors. What are they getting for a 10 by 10, a 10 by 20? And then we go below that. We're like, let's not assume we can get that although that is the market rate. Let's go below that just to be safe. Maybe things turn, whatever. And then that's one more kind of buffer there that helps the project, only helps the project and investors, right?
Well, for sure. If you're buying, renovating, and filling at 60% of of the cost of everyone else, you're able to do that and then probably split your returns.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love the kind of, it's definitely a nuanced approach, but it's just a brand new way of thinking about, how to get into the storage game. Cause it's something right now I'm part of a deal that has a project here in Tennessee, and just watching, we bought this, a year ago, and we're getting an extra $2 million more for the project than what we paid for it. Wow. Not a whole lot in rebranding or renovating the property, or it's just storage is on fire.
Yeah. Is this a storage property?
Yeah, it's a storage property. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. It's great. And I'm involved only really as a passive investor on it, but it's just crazy to watch that go down. It's like, this is nuts. So you're feeling, I know. I don't know how they're making it work is really the conclusion. It's like, I don't know who's buying this or how they're making this work, but I'm happy, but my goodness, this is crazy. So
yes, it is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I think, the kind of stuff that springboarded those crazy valuations was 2021 was just a crazy year for storage. I think rental rates went up nationwide 24 to 26% in 1 year, which is obviously not sustainable and could correct and all of that. But even if you just follow inflation at 8%, that's still a really healthy rate climb every year. And if institutional buyers are buying it and they're borrowing it 2% or less, they're just happy with the spread. Correct. So they can pay whatever they need to pay because they're just excited about the spread they're going to make.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the wild times that we're living in. And I think right now, being a cash flow investor, which it sounds like that's what you're doing, is building just a portfolio of cash producing assets.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's the goal.
Talk to me about your hotels. I know.
Okay.
I'd love to hear kind of your thought process behind that, how you guys are locating, what you're doing with them, the business plan as a whole.
Yeah. So it's very boutique style properties. I've been in the Airbnb world for probably 7 or 8 years as a host, and 1,000+ guests over a couple different properties we had in Wilmington here, and had an opportunity to buy a 5-room boutique motel on the beach in Cary Beach, North Carolina. And we renovated it. We're able to convert it to 9 rooms and just opened it not quite even 2 years ago. Actually made a connection through Best Ever. And David Acosta is my partner. I'm sure you know David, but he and I partnered on the next one. And these are all of our properties are on one island in just outside of Wilmington, Cary Beach and Carolina Beach. And so we bought the other one, then another one, and just kind of rolling it into the next one. And I think we're up to 85, 90 doors now across the 4 properties, 3 of which are on the beach, like on the sand. And then one is kind of in downtown Carolina Beach that we just did a pretty major overhaul on when we bought it. It was pretty run down, and we just kind of went through and freshened everything up. And so, yeah, we're excited to see that. We've got an asset manager on the island, and he's in charge of kind of monitoring the property managers. But we really wanted to try to shift to more of the Airbnb model, because I saw how that worked and how people like that. And so what we did on all the properties is convert them all to keyless locks and keypads. The software we're using is Cloudbeds. It's fantastic. It integrates with other software that can push codes to the guest, so they get a code to access the room at check-in, and then the code stops working when they need to check out. So it's kind of a hybrid of the Airbnb and the hotel. We don't have a front desk that we're obligated to staff 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. People don't lose keys because they've got the code in their phone, and they come and go, and it's been working great. So we're still, obviously, that's not my background, so we're still trying to iron out the processes all around that, and maintenance, and laundry, and all those kinds of things. Housekeeping, we've got some great staff. So we're just kind of seeing where that arm of the business goes. We're just kind of taking a pause right now with interest rates, and we feel like we got some great properties in while it was good, and we'll see how we want to get this really fine-tuned before we try to scale it.
Yeah, and again, this is one of the reasons I love chatting with you. Like, we want to get it fine tuned before we scale it, and you're at 85 or 90 doors on this already, Erik. So I think
well, man, that might be it. I don't know. We might have a circle up and say, you know what, we're happy with these. Let's just go back to storage.
Yeah, and that's the fun part about this business, is just all of the opportunity. And you answered kind of my question, and I think or a question I would have had for you, which is how are you scaling all these different asset classes? And it comes down to people, is what it sounds like.
People, yes. We're in the process we bought a building in downtown Wilmington that we're renovating right now for our office. We're in a very small office right now, and everybody's kind of on top of each other. So we're hopefully get into there in the next 6 weeks or so. And then we have some more folks that we're bringing on board once we get in there. And yeah, just trying to get people. A huge thing for us was the book Traction. Gina Wickman, Levi and I read that after Best Ever last year, I think, or a year ago, right when we started Nomad Capital. It's just over a year old. And just going through that book like it's the Bible right now. Page, if he says have a meeting on Tuesday, we're having meetings on Tuesday. If he says they last 90 minutes, we're doing it for 90. We're basically just going play by play with that book, and that's been huge. I will say that has definitely streamlined a lot of stuff for us. So huge shout out to him. And I know Brandon Turner's a big fan of the book, and everybody I know that reads it is like, it's a real tools to put into your business so that you're working on your business and less into it. And we're trying to get to the point where, in a world we see someday, like Levi and I come to the Tuesday meeting, we can sit there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and have a really good pulse on what's the biggest problems we're facing, where are we at, what's our lease up, where's our cash flow, where's our payables, and we're implementing the scorecards he talks about, and it's it's been fantastic. So highly recommend that.
Man, that's awesome. Erik, I love what you guys are doing. I've always appreciated your kind of left or right of center approach to finding.
It's exactly right. It's swerving. We're swerving around the line.
Your swerving approach.
It's left and right. Yeah. No, we often joke that we're building the plane while we're flying, and some days it does feel like that, but we really feel like this is the tip of the iceberg. We feel like there's a lot of runway for what we're doing, and just excited to build out the team to help us do that. And our guys and gals are super excited about what we're doing, and we're trying to really create a fun culture, and people seem to love it. This new office will have golf simulator, kegerator, that kind of stuff. So we're definitely going to be, enjoying the ride as we go. So, we're excited.
That's awesome, man. Certainly appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today.
Absolutely.
Tell us about how you're finding opportunity and value, and it's been tons of fun. Obviously, the last 5 to 6 years getting to know you, and then watching you guys grow. If our listeners want to get in touch with you or learn more about you, what is the best way to do that?
Yes, perfect. So website is nomadcapital.us. And you can see stuff there. You can make an investor portal. You can see what projects we have coming up, what we've done, portfolio, all that good stuff. If you want to reach out to me personally, Erik, Erik, at nomadcapital.us is email, and cell phone. You want that? Or yeah, sure. 910-431-3855. Happy to chat about storage, conversions, life, boutique motels, or anything else I don't know about.
Politics, religion, anything else.
Sure. Weather. Let's do it all. Yeah.
Erik, thank you again. Certainly appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sam.